Steve and Jill here.
Hello.
Welcome to the Land Academy Show, entertaining land investment talk. I'm Steve and Jack Butala.
And I'm Jill DeWit, broadcasting from sunny Southern California.
Today, Jill and I talk with Land Academy member, Christine McManus. Christine, how are you?
Hi there. I'm doing well.
We were having our Thursday webinar last week, and Christine casually and quietly reported in the chat that she's about to make $1.5 million on a deal. And now
unheard of.
Like,
it was
a week later, you're on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm really delighted to be visiting with you today.
She just lobbed that in there at the end.
Yeah.
It was like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm sure people at the end of the call were like, what just happened? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So we do want to hear more about that.
Yeah, very exciting times for us.
Yeah.
That's great.
Are you house shopping yet?
No, in fact, it's funny because we were talking just yesterday, even before this deal, which doesn't close until December. And we've made decent money buying and selling land, believe me.
Oh, great. So this isn't new to you. You just added a couple zeros.
Right. But yeah, we have not purchased anything. Part of it is because I want to, maintain a big chunk of money so we can buy more land. And the other part is, I don't know how to say this without sounding a little arrogant, and I hope it doesn't come across that way. I've never had this much money.
Oh.
So I mean, we've had successful careers and made very decent incomes, but yeah, this is unfathomable to us. It really is. It's crazy exciting.
Boy, I hope you times 10 it next year.
It's like,
right.
That my bank balance?
I know.
Am I looking at this right? So I get a call. There's something wrong.
Right. So my business partner actually quit her job 3 months ago, and we did not anticipate that happening until this time next year.
Oh.
But we blew our goals out of the water, and here we are.
All right. So barring this large transaction, what were your goals, if you don't mind me asking, for for 2020? And you obviously exceeded them. So can you share some numbers?
Sure, absolutely. If you don't mind, I'll back up just a little bit. I was a Land Academy voyeur for about a year before we sent the first mailer. Very diligent about my own research on the internet, followed you guys diligently, followed another land person, and finally just bit the bullet 1 month before I was laid off from my job.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so you guys literally saved our lives.
Wow.
With respect to roof over the head, food on the table. I did get a decent severance pay, which increased our acquisition funds a little bit. So it became really fun in 2018. And so from August 2018 to August 2019, our goal was to make $20,000 a month. And we've surpassed that.
Excellent.
Yeah, so very exciting.
No.
I always say, if you can't live on 20 grand a month, something's wrong. Like you're not, your priorities are wrong in life.
You can't
Indeed.
live on $5 grand a month.
Yeah.
I would say.
Right. And we were, and quite comfortably. So, we just have not had any big purchase or splurge. We are enjoying writing larger checks to folks we want to donate to. So that's fun.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I love it. Now, did you coming into this, did you have any prior real estate experience at all?
I did not, Jill. So my business partner always wanted to flip houses. And that's kind of how I started. We purchased the house we're in now 5 years ago and got rehabbed it. And guess what? It doesn't take 30 minutes like they show on TV. Right. So anyway, flipping houses got me to Land Academy in a roundabout way. I hit Bigger Pockets, and then I found you guys, and I started voyeuring. Then I purchased, and I voyeured longer, and then bit the bullet and sent out some mailers. So my previous experience was not at all related in land or housing. I am by training a psychometrician. Now, a psychometrician is for those who don't know, is like a statistician, but we measure things. We measure things that are unique to measure or difficult to measure. So knowledge, psychological traits, or primarily nowadays it's used in education and psychology research. So
like metadata.
Exactly. So I'm very familiar with statistics. The data never scared me. Honestly, it was talking to folks and the fear of rejection. And I later found out the fear of success. While we were, successful in our own careers and in our own right, you talk about, for example, I think everyone fantasizes about what happens if you win the lottery. Right. Well, this has literally happened to us. And so we can realize some of these fantasies, but it's also scary at the same time. So yeah, we need to find a really, really good accountant.
I mean, I would one up, because I felt like I won the lottery several times in my career.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
And it's like, I would one up it because I think it's like, I feel like I won something, but I kind of earned it. Like all the pieces all went to in the puzzle, and it's not earning it is not the right word. It's a one step up from winning something. It's like, yeah, it all worked. It was more like wow, I never thought this was going to work. And it worked.
Is it like buying 1 million lottery tickets to win the lottery?
Right. To win the $900,000 lottery.
Exactly.
Right.
No, it's just, I know the feeling now. I know what you mean.
But Jack, you're right about the work, and it does take a lot of work, and particularly for not only us, but I suspect a lot of other Land Academy members is many of us are coming in so green. And for me and my personality, that's why I had to research it to the nth degree before I jumped. And even having researched it so much, it was I just couldn't have anticipated how well it works. And I know that's a Land Academy cliche, but it works, and we're proof of that.
So yeah, I have the same personality type. Do you have to research everything?
I do. I do. I can't even buy a refrigerator without. I mean, yeah, not just the big Consumer Reports, but then everybody's opinion.
Yep. Me too. Same. So where does that come from? Sort of a psychology background ish. I mean, not really, but where does that come from?
I wish I had the answer. I don't know
either.
I mean, I think those of us who are armed with knowledge just feel more comfortable that we've thought out every scenario and can respond to it without being caught off guard. Maybe.
It's like having curly hair. It's like everybody kind of admires it from afar, but if you have it yourself, you know how difficult it is.
I don't know. I have straight hair.
Did you two have the same issues, we'll call it?
Yeah.
Coming from my perspective, it's nice being with someone like you guys, because I know at the very end, by the time it gets to me, you have run the scenarios 18 different times. And even if we halfway do what you think is going to happen, we're going to be just great. So that part's good.
That's I think that's a fancy way of saying trust.
I do trust you.
That's
but
good.
Seriously, I never go and double check his math or numbers or ideas or anything like that. Like, we're buying this. I'm like, I guess we're buying that today.
Right.
There we
right.
go.
And I have my quote Jill too. So it is something I wouldn't rather do with anyone else than my own Jill, and something that I hope everybody can find.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree with that. It's life-changing.
It is.
Indeed.
You were talking about starting out, and like, did you have any struggles other than, the time that you wanted to spend on this? Were there any other business struggles or things that, you wish had gone smoother when you were doing this?
Definitely. Because when we first sent out the initial mailer, the business wasn't set up. And I also have a degree in business and know better. But once we made the commitment, it was kind of baptism by fire. I mean, we did have the website, and we had a checking account. But beyond that, we really kind of organized as we went along. And actually, after a string of several successes, we could put the brakes on for a couple weeks to get organized. And otherwise, we would have, never caught up.
I'm like, I would argue you did it perfect.
Yeah, that's
honestly,
what I was just going to say the same
you
thing.
want to test the water a little bit, don't spend a whole lot of time in it and have your business cards made up and realize, I don't want to do this, so I like that. I think that's perfect that you did a couple of deals and like, okay, we're in.
We
We're
launched.
going to circle back around.
We launched all of our products, and we probably should never. We have no business launching these products in the state that they're in, and then it just forces us to adjust as you go. And I guess you run a risk at really just turning everybody off right in the beginning, but I think it's easier to recover from that than waiting 6 more months or a year.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's a great point.
It's a ask for forgiveness, not permission thing.
Right. Well, and you know what? Your course, the one thing I loved about it is that it provides a tremendous foundation for what we're all doing, but it leaves plenty of room for everybody to put their own mark on it. And, we do it differently than other folks, and it's working for us. But,
it's so interesting you say that, because I think that's the pillar of education. All the types of education that I've ever had any respect for, the instructor says, here's a framework. This is what's possible. Here's a few examples of what's possible. Here's some examples of how it didn't work out. And you'd be better suited. Hopefully the really good ones will say something like, your personality type is, if you have this type of personality, you're probably going to do better at this than if you have this type of personality. And by the way, it's not this, everything's a bell curve. It's not, this isn't for everybody. And so I've always done really well in that environment. What I found with, since we started Land Academy, is that there's a substantial number of people that they just want an instructional video, and they want to know exactly how to do it, where to do it, exactly which, what parts of the data to scrub out and why. And it's really just an if-then statement. And that's not what I want to do. I don't want to teach that. I don't think they should be doing that anyway. I don't think they're just going through the motions and not learning anything.
I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, I think that if for whatever reason you can't move beyond or don't want to move beyond the foundation, then there's probably something out there for you that's a different that is a better fit.
I think we lost you right at the last sentence.
Oh, can you still hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was saying, with respect to the foundation of the course, if it's something you don't want to do or for some reason can't do, there's probably something out there that's better for you.
Exactly.
Yeah,
This does take work. I mean, honestly, we crushed it with some of these mailers, and we've had help. Believe me, this is a team effort. We found some amazing investors. We've worked with them on several deals. In fact, we've changed our approach to the funding for some of these deals and the payouts for some of these deals. So I'm learning just as much from investors and even buyers. I mean, if I stop learning, I'm doing something wrong.
That's what I think.
Totally.
You got to be flexible constantly. The market constantly changes. I spent a better part of this week. It's a very interesting conversation. I mean, I spent the better part of this week going to webinars from our data providers, both Black Knight, First American, and RealQuest, CoreLogic. And I'm shocked and amazed at the differences between the three and their presentation, and then their quality of where they think that their companies are going. And man, I'm so impressed with Black Knight and the data from your data person. What's going to happen in the next 24 months with data? This is all, we take this data, we pull it down, we put it in a spreadsheet. That's what we do. We're probably doing that since the 70s or 80s. That's not how this is going to go in the next 24 months. You kind of set up a dashboard for yourself, and it alerts you and tells you what to do based on your own parameters. And so that really bodes well for what you just said about education, because if you're not a creative person and are not constantly looking for new ways to do things or new ways to finance things or whatever, ways to look at data, let's just say, you're going to miss out on that. So this is not an if-then statement. That's a really good point that you bring up. I thought we were just going to talk about Ferraris and getting rich today.
I have a Ford. Two of them. I just sold my F-150 that had 213,000 miles on it.
Good for you.
Wow.
We had to say goodbye to a Lexus that had 300,000 miles on it too. It wasn't safe anymore, you know?
Yeah. I say I sold it. I gave it to the neighbor's kid. So he graduated high school this year, and he's having fun with it.
We gave it to
paid it forward.
struggling bartender that we liked in Arizona.
Exactly.
Nice.
We're expecting to get a lot of drinks in return out of this. We'll see.
Yeah. And they closed the bar.
I know.
You ought to. Yeah.
That is so true.
So Jack, when you talk to the folks at Black Knight et al., how do you think or see the data changing in the next 12, 24 months?
So I took a webinar a couple days ago specifically about mortgages, and because it's such a hot topic with forbearance and foreclosure, and now the feds are involved in stopping foreclosure. It's like nothing we've ever seen. So never have we ever, not necessarily for us, but never has that industry needed such real-time data, meaning, who's pick a zip code, what specific mortgage holders are foreclosing on their properties yesterday, who missed a payment yesterday. I mean, I'm talking about just amazing.
Wow.
15 minutes of, it's not super real time, but it's 15 minutes in delay. And you can set up the dashboards between Power BI and actually you could hire a programmer within that company to, let's say if you're only interested in Southeastern Illinois or whatever you're interested in, put together a dashboard that's going to tell you, hey, all the mortgages that you hold in this area, it's getting worse. And then a day later, it's getting better. It's getting worse. It's getting better. It really can stay on top of it. Or if you're a mortgage broker, even, where the foreclosures are or the potential foreclosures. And it's not limitless, but it's a tremendous amount of data. So for us, it opens me up. It opens me up as an investor. So it's not necessarily I'm buying rural vacant land or recreational land any longer. We're already doing that very successfully. It starts to get me thinking there's other lines of revenue where timely data like that could really help. Or if there's some I know there's pockets around the country where land is selling really well. I'm throwing examples out. These aren't real. But let's say South Central Maine, the state of Maine, for whatever reason, 40% of their land got sold that month or last month or whatever indicators that make sense to you. It's no longer spreadsheets. It's back on. It's a data feed like an API that goes into a database, and then it allows you to create the dashboard, let's say, like in your car, of what you want to see and what's important to you. So that's where I see this all really going.
That sounds exciting and as close to real-time information as we're going to get in a while. So very exciting.
There's some communities in Florida that for whatever reason, lenders felt like it was okay to lend against rural vacant land or raw land. Because usually that's not the case. Usually lenders they don't want to have anything to do with that. So of course, all that stuff's getting foreclosed on again, like it was in 2010. How can we make money on that? Or do you even want to? I'm not a Florida fan, as you know. I'm just using that as an example. You really have to sit down and go through what I call the dreaming stage. That's how I came up with this silly business model in the first place. It's like, what if there's some company out there that has a database of all the people who own real estate in the country? And it turns out there was. And this one got them to give it to us. So
thank you, Jill. I'm glad your dreams come true.
I was in the second meeting, not the first one. Whatever she did in that first meeting, it was like, I don't even want to know what she did, but it worked.
Yeah, some sort of Jill magic that we all need a touch of that.
It's kind of funny. It feels like I'm over here. You only call me in when you need me. All right, you can go off now.
No. Come back.
Jill's a finisher. She's a closer.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the good to get the foot in the door and then the end. That's I think my forte. I can get any meeting you want. And that I've always said that. I'm like, well, just tell me what you want. I'll get us in there. And I do. And then you do the stuff and then we wrap it up.
So everybody's dying to know where you're finding these money people, or if are they approaching you, or are you digging around in our group?
All from the Land Academy group except one. So I have a partner who was sending mail, and he was unable to continue with Land Academy because of family. And so he reached out to me. He reached out to several members, and that's my understanding. And I replied to him, and we connected. We were both from Minnesota, and we talked. And he said, "Can you finish? I sent out these mailers. Will you work on these deals?" And I looked at it, and I was like, "Holy crap! This guy had the cojones to mail to large acreage out in California, very, very expensive parcels." Yeah. And so he is really the reason that we got into this large acreage, and we've kind of, kept going from there. And of course, from a couple of parcels that we purchased there, we've purchased others either by word of mouth. Hey, I have a friend who wants to sell his 600 acres, or I forgot to tell you, my brother and I have 900 acres over here. So we're closing on the 15th on a 600 acre deal out in that area from somebody else we purchased from. And those figures look a lot like this home run we've been talking about. So we're excited.
It's an amazing way that happens. It's like, it's just a chain. You know what I mean?
Indeed.
Make yourself available, and you're open a new deal. She's famous for that. Hey, what else do you have?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and we, before we needed funding, we had, I'll just share it. We had $30,000 to invest. And the very first mailer we did was in Arizona, like most everybody else. And we bought 2 1-acre parcels from a church in Indiana. One of their parishioners had donated the land to them, and they didn't want it. So we were $2,000 each for each parcel, and we sold it for $36,000. And that was the holy crap, this works. So then, pretty soon your 16th, then at that time, your 16,000 becomes, or excuse me, your 30,000 becomes 60,000. And then 60,000 becomes 120. So I was very happy with our progress before we even got into these big deals. But it sure does change your perspective. I mean, for the rest of 2020 through for some reason, because we really hit in August, we're thinking of our fiscal year from August to August. So we are looking at monthly gross 120,000.
Excellent.
Yeah, as our goal. So, and we're of course well on path for that.
It'll go up from there, I'm sure of it.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of people, Christine, have trouble with that going, adding a couple zeros. Mm-hmm. So what advice could you give them? Because you just got over it quickly.
That's a good question. And I think that the money is there, it's finding it. And then once you find it, to take care of those folks like they take care of you. We give first right of refusal to 3 main funders that we have. We have also restructured our approach to funding. Instead of the 50-50 type, we are straightforward percent in, percent out. This big deal that we were talking about, the 1.9 million, we paid $240 for that. And we had 70% of those funds, but needed 30% of it. So we had 2 funders, one at 8% and one at 15%. My numbers aren't right, but you get the gist.
Yeah.
So they're 8% in, 8% out. So that person invested 20,000, and they're going to gross about 150,000.
Boy, they're never going to leave you alone.
Exactly.
Right. So we've restructured it a little bit that way, particularly if we have the bulk of the investment. Otherwise, we're willing to work on the back end with folks. Like if we have a very small percentage of the investment, we might say, hey, we would like $100,000 for this, but we'll take it on the back end. So once it sells, you can pay us. Because I have a good relationship in most instances with the buyers. And so I want to maintain that and fulfill our commitment with them and the investors also.
So speaking of buyers, is it an inside thing, or you throw it on the MLS? What's your regular?
We have an excellent realtor in the area, and you don't always like them until you need them. But this realtor has been working with us now for 4 or 5 months, and I can now send him an APN and ask him about what he thinks about days on market. And he's a land only expert. What he thinks about days on market and what we could sell it for. I don't tell him what we're buying it for. So he's a great check. Hey, we can buy it for 100. What do you think you can sell it for? And he'll come back and say, 4 or 5. Okay, we're closing on that one. So that is part of getting a great team together.
Mm-hmm. That's
exactly what we do. Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and interestingly, we made a business decision not to put these high-end, by high-end, I mean dollar amounts, on our personal website to kind of help manage image. We're, want to stay with that family-oriented image. And we may change that later down the road, but for now, because we're still very, very young, there's a lot we don't know. But for now, we want to maintain that small town image.
When we place equity, which is what I think we're really all doing here,
Mm-hmm.
I try to make it, I guess it's subconscious. I try to make it relatively equal. So from a risk standpoint, so if we have $300,000 a place and we do 10 deals, acquisition price of $30,000, this is a perfect situation for my risk, how I see risk. Mm-hmm. Do 10 deals at $30,000, vast majority, all of them are going to make money. Hopefully they're very kind of separated geographically, but not too separated. Mm-hmm. Maybe within one realtor or two realtors jurisdiction. And then I feel really comfortable from a risk diversification standpoint. So that's why I've done a bunch of, Jill and I have done some pretty large deals in the past. And every time it's like I hold my breath through the whole thing. I'm like, I'm not sure I want to do that again. I'd really rather do just 10 or 20 of these and make the same amount of money. So what are your thoughts on that?
You know what? It is a little nerve-wracking to be playing with this kind of finance and to make sure that it closes. I mean, it's not over until that check's in the bank. And it was, I don't want to say easier, but emotionally, it's easier for me to work with $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. And then it's ours and you own it. I would also like to, be able to help some folks out who are just starting, because my very first deal, that's not true. My second deal, we could have used $20,000, and it worked out that we ended up getting the funding and made a nice profit. We made a $90,000 profit on a $45,000 investment.
That's great.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I didn't answer your question. I'd much prefer, me emotionally, I would like to do $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 deals all day long over these big ones. One, they're much faster to turn around.
Yeah.
And again, talk about your team. We have a couple of great escrow agents. We do pay a little more for those escrow agents, but they will handhold and get the deal done. And that's invaluable when there's just two of us doing this.
Yep.
So yeah, I would rather do that all day long emotionally.
That's kind of our business model right now. I try to do, I don't know what we're doing, 20, 30 deals, maybe a month-ish, maybe 20. Mm-hmm. Yeah, buy for 30 or 40 and sell for 100.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Easier. Yeah. So where do you want to take this now? Like do you have a big end goal, Christine?
Well, one of the reasons this whole thing started about, let's flip houses and no, hey, look what I found was land, was as a side gig so that we could retire early. I wanted to retire when I was 55, and guess what? It's not that far off. So I sent that first mailer in late 2018 or June 2018, and we could, if we wanted to, retire in December. But we are having so much fun. But for us, we're not of the mindset of growing the business with respect to hiring staff and expanding in those areas. We are comfortable doing what we're doing, and the dollar amount will likely go up every year, with our goals, or actually maybe the number of parcels, not the dollar amounts. So yeah, we're happy doing what we're doing right now. And I know that may seem odd, but yeah.
It doesn't seem odd at all. Jill and I have this conversation all the time. It's like, retire from what?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Really, I've been doing this for decades, so I'm going to give you some unsolicited advice. When you feel like you want to retire, just hire a couple of people, like maybe one person under your partner, one person under you, one person under your partner, train the hell out of them, somebody you trust. And then you can just sort of like 85% of the time retire and just kind of look at numbers for an hour a day, which is almost where Jill and I are now from a land perspective. Land Academy has changed a lot of that because it's a lot of work, but that's what I would suggest.
That's kind of what I do now with the land and the deal funding and things that I'm doing. I have a really good team. Mm-hmm. So I'm making few phone calls, reviewing few deals, a couple hours a day, maybe an hour a day even sometimes. It's perfect. So, and I love it. I'm like you, like I just told him this today. I'm like, I don't see me ever not doing land deals because I get such a kick out of it.
It is fun. I mean, it is really fun.
Right? And it's the buying part of it. The selling, I'm like, I knew that was going to happen.
Right. That's going to happen.
The buying part of it. I literally personally dropped everything on Friday and was getting cashier's check because half of our offices, they're only in certain days of the week. Most of the time they're remote. And it was a run to the bank thing. I'm like, I'm on it. Somebody sent me a deed. I'll print it out. Give me a deed and a label. I'll do it. So I did.
That's awesome. That is so cool.
I love it.
So Jill, I wonder if because we're women that we have a slight advantage on the phone. I'll give you a little anecdote. So I signed my offer letters Chris McManus, androgynous kind of name. And I cannot tell you how many times during the first 2 weeks when the hate wants to come in, I'll answer the phone and somebody will say, I'm calling for Chris McManus. And I'll say, this is she. And you can just hear him go, Chris McManus? Yes, this is she. Oh, well, yeah. And I'm like, thank you, estrogen.
Took the wind right out of their sails.
Yeah.
You can't yell at a girl.
I know. It's so funny. Of course we can't tell age over the phone, but I suspect they're guys older than me. So It's just, it always tickles me when I, get that phone call where somebody wants to talk to Chris McManus.
They're hopping mad. They're waiting for you to put them through. I love it. She said, hold please, Chris McManus.
Right. Yeah.
I'll never forget the time that I had a guy in New York call me back to apologize. He felt it was the funniest thing. He literally hung up, called me back and said, I want to apologize for my behavior.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was so funny.
Oh, that is awesome.
It was very sweet.
I think it doesn't stop there with women. I think women are predisposed to finish what they start. Men are usually not. I think women are, dot your I's, cross your T's. They will look at they won't slap a deed together so fast just to get it done. They'll actually look at it and check it and see if it's right or wrong. I think there's all kinds of things that are women advantage to this whole thing.
Thank you for admitting to doing that, by the way.
And there's, I'll tell you too, you know, I'm going to get so many comments on emails.
Yeah, we all knew that. We all knew.
There's no brawn to this at all. It's still totally set up for women. Like when you renovate a house, there's all kinds of stuff. You got to yell at people, and there's contractors and stuff flying around, and you did it. So there's nothing like that here.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing.
It works for us. Hey, estrogen on.
That's the title of the show.
I love it. Well, do you have any last questions for us before we end today?
I do not. I just want to thank you both. It's been a delight visiting with you. And I mean this so sincerely, that when I chose Land Academy, it was because of your integrity and your authenticity. And every time I see you on the weekly call, or if I watch the podcast, or if I watch on someone else's podcast, you are so authentic. And
Thank you.
I thank you. You have changed our lives, and I know I'm not the only one. Truly, truly. And it's the way with which we operate our business. You know, we don't have any problems because we're not lying to folks. You know, we're transparent. They know. So I just, yeah, that's a cool gig you have.
Well, you seem like you have a philanthropic flair. So I'll tell you, every time we have anybody on, you can expect many, many emails from people who let me put it this way. I'm sure after talking to you for 45 minutes here, you're going to be a huge inspiration to people. So
thank you.
Oh, I hope so. You know, particularly my peers, and I promise soon I will get back to those starting with some deal funding of our own.
That's great.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you. What an amazing community that we have. And thank you so
You-
much, Christine.
Yes, and it is a large part of that community that's also carried me to where we are. So,
So glad. Thank you.
cheers.
Cheers. Happy you could join us today. Monday through Friday, you can find us right here on the Land Academy Show.
Join us tomorrow for another interesting episode. You are not alone in your real estate ambition.